Emma and Magneto are still gonna be the best tanks in the game. Emma is getting nerfed, but I don't think the nerf to her beam will affect her as much. She will be more balanced, but at the core she's still very strong. Same with Mag, and they have a good synergy and a team up with each other. Luna and Loki are still gonna be some of the best supports in the game. However, one of the main advantages of Loki was his very fast ult build-up, which was basically a faster Luna ult, and now exactly that part of his kit is getting nerfed. Therefore, I think he will remain at S tier but won't be as high at the S tier anymore. Hela is still going to be the best DPS in the game. Consistent and reliable damage, 2 taps across the map, and gets a new very good Venom team up. From what I've seen so far, Jean is like a cooler Hela, you know what I mean? She's not as good at long range, but is much better with grouped opponents. Her ultimate is incredibly good and completely denies some support ult. For example, she completely destroys Rocket's ult and ignores any shields it gave. She also has a good team up with Wolverine, which is going to be another S tier. Unless they change the lifesteal percentage, this team up will literally be peak or ban. However, Wolverine is very inconsistent, he's probably the second most bugged character after Black Panther, and sometimes his grab just doesn't grab anyone, and relying on the team up to be S tier while Hela and Jean don't, which is why I put him a bit lower in the S tier. Groot and Hawkeye are still really good characters, but they are a bit more complex, and Groot is simply not as good as them and Magneto. They're going to keep their S tier spots in the meta though. And I think Invis is going to be S tier now. She was already a high A tier in my opinion, but with Loki's nerfs, very good buff to the Thing, and Torch still remaining good, I think she and her team up will become a very good option. I think Punisher will remain a very strong hero, but not an S tier due to his turret nerfs. Hulk and Strange are not going to have much fun in Wolverine meta, but they're still very good and solid tanks. The Thing is going to be very strong next season. The ability to chase people, knock flyers from the air, and jump on enemies will make him an absolutely anti-fun tank in the game, against all the dive characters and flying characters. He will suffer a lot solo tanking and against poke comps though, so I think I'll keep him at A. Human Torch is going to be pretty good, but his nerfs to his damage and his ult's damage are not so fun. The anchor doesn't really do him justice that much. His animation cancelling tech is good, but barely any Torch player uses it, because of which he remains in a high A tier. He's also an anchor for the Spidey team up, and I think eventually people will find a way for those characters to synergize and destroy lobbies. Psylocke and Starlord are still going to be pretty solid, can both do the job of a diver and a poke character, very flexible with carry potential, but still not as insanely good to be S tiers. Namor gets a buff to his tridents, but let's be honest, people don't play Namor because they know how to aim. Hypothetically though, he's going to be a pretty solid A tier character, and if you put a Hela main on Namor, maybe even an S tier. Storm and Bucky are still going to remain solid picks in my opinion. Bucky gets a small buff and storm damage buffs, and Jeff Nader is still very good. Ultron was accidentally buffed. The shield's nerf is pretty bad, but his mobility actually gets a buff with lower cooldown for his dash, so he will remain a really good option, especially in triple support comps. Iron Man remains a solid flyer pick. Overall, flyer meta is going to suffer from the Fang buffs, but his nerfs mostly affect his repulsors. In my opinion, his laser damage is the real problem, which makes him strong, so he'll still be strong. Mantis gets a really good buff for healing, and to be honest, I think Mantis is underrated. Eventually people will find a way to play with her heals and damage boosts, and I feel like she's gonna have a pretty solid position in the meta. Dagger is still very solid pick for a healer, but her ult can be very counterable, and there's simply better options out there. Still a very good pick though. Rocket is a good pick for a healer as well, very simple and provides good value. There's just better options than him. Cap and Venom are going to be good dive tanks, but being dive tanks they suffer a lot from the need of second tank, and dive requires good coordination to be good, which translates to hard to get value with and needs certain dive DPS on the team, so B tier. Adam is a decent triple support healer. With rest comp, Adam becomes a high A tier, but outside of that he's just decent. His ult can still be tricky and healing potential is not enough for comps with 2 supports. BP and Magic are both very counterable, but when they're not countered, they can completely destroy lobbies, but since they're that counterable and require this much skill, I'd put them in B tier for now. Penny can be decent if you know how to play her. and on certain maps, especially with Rocket team up, but overall she's just not that good. She's not good for solo tanking either. I think Black Widow starts the C tier. She has potential if you have good aim, but just not as consistent as Hela. Jeff is an okay-ish healer pick, but you really need to play him with a team up. I saw that Venom team up is relatively decent, so we'll see about that, and Jeff Nader is still really busted. Moonlight can be a solid pick in certain maps, but sometimes he just doesn't have the damage to finish off enemies and just farms enemy strategist ults. Spidey got hard nerfs this season. Most of his combos don't finish off targets now. He's an A tier with Torch team up, but without it he's just trash. And the most mechanically difficult character as well. Fantastic and Iron Fist were already pretty bad in Season 2.5 in my opinion. And Fantastic gets further nerfs, so I think they're gonna be in a rough spot right now. And D tier, well, I mean the rest of the characters, Scarlet, Squirrel, and Thor, we all know how much fun Thor had in Ignite. Scarlet and Squirrel have their moments in low elo, but their damage is just not enough for the meta. This is my prediction of Season 3. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously I don't have lore on every character, so you may have a different understanding of your character and his position in the meta. Take care and I'll see you all.